Hi, I want to welcome you to the Parents' Night for Chosen, your journey towards confirmation. My name is Father Mike Schmitz, and I'm one of the presenters for this confirmation program. And once again, I just want to say a welcome to all of you. I know you made sacrifices to be here this night. You know, this sacrament is going to strengthen your kids. It's going to strengthen them in a way. It's going to root them more deeply as God's sons and daughters. It's gonna give them a sealing of the gift of the Holy Spirit. It also will give them a special strength to spread and defend the faith by what they say and what they do, to never be ashamed of the name of Jesus, and to never be ashamed of the cross. But in order to receive this in its fullness, a person has to be willing to change. Now, that's what this confirmation prep program is all about. It's not just about, hey, believe in this or believe in that. It's about become a disciple. Maybe you already know that to be a parent is to be the first teacher of your child in the faith. And that you're probably the first Catholic they've ever known. And probably their vision of what it is to be a Catholic will be based off of your example. And maybe you really feel unqualified. Maybe you hear that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. You know, maybe it's been a long time since you prayed. Maybe it's been a long time since you've gone to Mass on a regular basis. Maybe you don't know the first thing about God or the church. Maybe you actually aren't qualified. But the truth is, you've been called. That you've been called to be that first teacher of your child in the faith. And if you've been called, it means two things. It means God has called you, and He's called you on purpose. Maybe you don't feel qualified, but we're hoping that as you journey with your child through this program, you will also realize that with your child, you are chosen.
One of my favorite saints in the making is actually a teenage girl. Little Chiara Luce Badano. This beautiful girl growing up in Italy. She had everything going for her. Boys loved her. She loved to play tennis, loved to rock climb. One day she was playing tennis when she was 16. She got an excruciating pain in her shoulder and she dropped the racket. Got some tests done, showed she had a rare form of bone cancer. And she said what we should say. She said, I'm young, I'm a fighter, I'm gonna make it. But over time, as she realized she wasn't going to make it, she'd constantly pray, if this is what you want, Jesus, so do I. When her hair fell out, she'd hold it up in the air and say, for you, Jesus. She refused morphine with bone cancer. She said, I want to share as much as possible in the suffering of Jesus on the cross. People would visit her to try to cheer her up, and they'd leave all uplifted by her joy. This one cardinal of the church visited her. He said, the light in your eyes is amazing. Where does it come from? She said, I try to love Jesus as much as I can. She'd walk around the hospital counseling depressed patients to lift their spirits up. And people would tell her to rest. She'd say, I'll have time to rest later. She told her mom, when you get me ready for burial, you gotta keep telling yourself Chiara is now seeing Jesus. She wanted to be buried in a wedding gown. She saw that as her wedding with Christ. And her last words were, goodbye, be happy because I'm happy. The story doesn't end there. Not long ago, there was a kid dying of meningitis in Italy. His organs were shutting down, his parents were told to say goodbye. Instead, they prayed to Chiara, and he was better the next day. Chiara was beatified a couple years ago. It's one of the final steps toward becoming a canonized saint in the Catholic Church. See, when a young person succeeds at holiness, they've succeeded in the most important sense. They've succeeded not just at the stuff they do. See, Chiara didn't accomplish a ton in this world, but they succeeded who they are. And if they don't succeed at holiness, nothing else matters because they don't even know who they are. You know what? That's why we created Chosen. It's not easy leading teenagers to their faith today. Not only are they bombarded with a culture that's sometimes hostile to faith and morals, they're surrounded by noise. I recently read about a teenage girl in New York City who fell into a manhole while walking and texting. Chosen's been designed to cut through all that noise and speak directly to your child's heart and in a language that they'll understand. Wherever your child may be with their faith, even if it seems like it's non-existent, there's still something in every human heart that longs for a sense of purpose and identity that only faith can give, and that goes for us as parents too. Wherever you may be at with your faith, This program is an opportunity to ask questions, get answers, and grow closer to the one who made us for himself. The goal in Chosen isn't just to teach facts about the faith. The goal is to bring about an encounter with the person of Jesus Christ, who's alive and well. In the words of St. Paul, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So I've been saying that Chosen speaks to teens in a language they can understand. But exactly how does it do that? You may have noticed that teens have a really short attention span. They need really high quality media if they're watching TV to keep their attention. In many ways, the highlight of the program is those really high quality, fast-paced videos. Here's where we have our top youth ministry experts in the country. Filmed in about 50 locations around the world, presenting the beauty of Catholicism. And following each video segment, there are small group discussions. Those small groups, they're really the heart of the program. See, the goal of Chosen, again, it's not just to convey facts. It's to create an encounter with Jesus and to create a community that shares their faith and journeys together toward confirmation. And that's really where that encounter happens. It's in a setting like that that they learn what true community is. They'll also be using the student workbook throughout the lesson, filling in blanks between the video segments and reading from personal testimonies from the presenters. Again, and all that keeps them engaged throughout the entire learning process. And you should see the workbook, by the way, opened in your house during the week, because the students are encouraged to go home, do some studying, do some basic homework that includes some reading and a short summary of the previous week's lesson. And one of the coolest things I'm really excited about with the workbook is called the Challenge of the Week. This is where your child chooses 1 out of 3 challenges to live out what they just learned about in their experience and in the class. Challenges range from visiting a chapel, to writing about a favorite song, what it has to do with faith, to doing dishes for you without complaining. In addition to the student workbook, we have the parent guide and the sponsor guide. These are really crucial pieces. No one has a more important role than you as a parent, as your child journeys in faith. The Pope himself can't fulfill the role that God has given to you to fulfill. So how do you do that? The guide gives you really simple, practical ways to help your child grow in faith and easy discussion starters to help you break into each lesson your child's learning with them. Believe me, if you're willing to put just a little time in, the rewards can literally be eternal in your relationship with your child and your own personal relationship with God too. Along those lines, be sure that your child's sponsor gets the sponsor guide. That's designed to spell out the sponsor's role. A lot of sponsors want to engage in a child's faith journey, they don't know how. So it tells them how and gives them really practical ways to help journey with the teen toward confirmation. Listen, I know you might feel small and like your voice is quiet next to the culture at large. Culture is so loud and often so anti-faith. You know what else is really loud? A shallow stream. You stand in front of the Mississippi, it doesn't make a sound. Mom, Dad, that's your voice in the life of a child. A parent's voice has a power that a child can't escape. In ways that it was positive, it'll build them up their whole lives. In ways that was negative, they have to go to counseling 20 years later. Right? You know this. And they might pretend not to listen to your voice, but they hear you. And when your voice echoes the message of the gospel, the message about the love of God, the message they were made for, it's a force your child can't ignore. Please use that influence to build a firm foundation of faith for the life of your teen. I know you love your kids. I love mine. Let me share a little story with you. I had the worst 20 minutes of my life. When my son Joey was 4, we lost him for 20 minutes. We were up in the Rocky Mountains near where I live camping. And he ran off after some family thinking it was us. In just like a minute, he was gone. And he found himself amidst all these big trees, lost. And he sat down and we were screaming his name and he wouldn't respond. It was the most terrifying feeling I've ever had in my life. And there's a pond near where we were camping, and I thought he must have drowned. So I ran to this pond, expecting to see him floating there. And I'm knee deep in this water looking through all the reeds. And this prayer just exploded from my heart. It wasn't premeditated, it just came out of who I am as a dad. Which is a little echo of who God is as my Father. So God, you've given me a great life. You've given me so many blessings. Take it all back right now and give me my son. It was a scary prayer. Thank God we found Joey and God didn't kill me. But in those moments, he gave me the littlest glimpse of his love for me, for you, and for all of our kids. Guys, this is the love that created space and time, hung on a cross for us, rose from the dead. It's bigger than the whole ocean, and it's aimed right at you. It's aimed right at your child. This is the love that's on your side as you strive to raise a holy teenager. Now, I know that parenting is overwhelming, especially if you kind of feel like you're the only parent maybe in your family who's like really engaged in the whole faith thing. But when you consider how invested God is, how much he loves your kid and wants him to grow in the faith, there is no parent who's going it alone. God bless you. We're praying for you.
Okay, now that you've heard all this, and as you go forth from this parents' night, like back to life, you probably have the question, okay, what can I practically do? What can I actually do in my life? Well, I'll say two things, kind of two main general areas. One is in how you live. The other is in how you pray. And how you live, just three quick things. The first thing is, you probably have a parent's guide. Now, that parent's guide will track right along with what your child is gonna go through each night. What you can do whenever they have a night for confirmation prep is you can kind of review what's the topic for them. Ask them about it later on that night or later on that week. Second thing you can do in how you live is if your family doesn't already make it a practice of getting to Mass as a family, just please start. I just invite you to start doing that. Going to Sunday Mass as a family. There's nothing that can replace that. And the third thing in how you live and how you just witness to the faith is if it's been a long time since you've been to confession, I invite you to get back to confession. Not only to orient your heart back to the Lord's, but also to let your kids see you go to confession. You know, your kids, they see when you mess up, but they don't always see when you try to get right after you mess up. It's so important when kids see their mom or their dad go to confession because they realize that that's where I can go when I fall too. That's in how you live. This is how you pray. Three quick things. The first thing is this, to take a time yourself to actually pray, like whether it's in the morning or in the evening, just to carve out even at least 10 minutes so that you can deepen your relationship with God. The second thing is to pray with your child. I mean, there's something so powerful, and you might be uncomfortable, you might not know how to do it, but even if it's simply just, let's pray in Our Father before, we take this drive, or let's, pray before meals, some kind of way in which your kids see that you have a real relationship with God. And the third thing is to pray for your kids. There is almost nothing more powerful in a young person's life than the prayers of their mom or the prayers of their dad. There is something that's God-oriented and God-given power that He has given you to transform the lives of your kids through your prayers for them. Now, we believe that this program is going to be a really important element in your child's preparation for confirmation, but there is no one more important, and there's no role more important than yours, as their mom or as their dad. As you journey forward, even if you don't feel qualified, please know that you're called, please know that you're chosen, and please know that you don't have to be afraid because the Lord is on your side. And please also know that we're praying for your child, and we're praying for you. God bless.
We're all on a journey through life. We're all moving somewhere and time is taking us there. But where are we going? How does the journey end?
What is it that our hearts really, really long for to be happy? So Jesus not only redeems us, he also reveals God's identity. He reveals your identity. God's only getting started.
So we're not talking about a fairy tale here. We're talking about the real man named Jesus.
The succession of popes in the Catholic Church goes back 2,000 years, all the way back to Peter himself.
And beginning today, let the power of the sacraments inflame your lives.
When you look at these gifts as a whole, you should be very encouraged because they're yours. Take them, unpack them in your life, and change the world.
But God is with you. He's suffering with you right here in your life, in your heart.
All the pleasures of the world, nothing will satisfy you as much as authentic human sacrificial love.
Every one of the kids in your school, every one of the friends that you have, every person that you meet is looking for the same God that you are.
But we need to take it a step further. We need to let the grace flow through us so we can bring Christ to others.
See, this journey of faith doesn't just teach us who God is, it shows us who we are. You are sent by God to share His love and life with all the world. Faith has everything to do with why you're on this journey of life.